Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is David Rooney. I'm the publisher of the Revelstoke Current. And this evening I am speaking with Trevor English. Trevor is the manager of the Big Apple here in the Red Apple, in Revelstoke, and is also a candidate for City Council in our November 15th election. Trevor, thank you very much for having me into your home for this.
Thanks for having me. Thanks for coming.
It's my pleasure. So tell us a bit about yourself. Now, you're from Revelstoke originally, but you've been away for a number of years.
Been away for a while. I was born here in 1975. My parents moved back to Saskatchewan in 1976. My brother was born out there. We were able to come back to the Shuswap in 1993, and I've been in Sicamous and Salmon Arm from 93 to 2011, where I was able to make my dream of returning to Revelstoke come true. Jacobson Ford, I was working as a salesman in the Salmon Arm dealership, and they asked if I wanted to transfer to Revelstoke, which I happily accepted, moved to Revelstoke, and was offered a position at the Red Apple as a general manager, and took it, and it's been great ever since.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
So now you're interested in City Council.
Yeah.
What's impelling you to throw your name in the ring?
Well, when we moved to town, we loved it so much. I tried to really involve myself with some volunteer work, and did some volunteer work with Patty Larson at the food bank, and had always tried to help her. There was a couple people that had come in and talked to me about the local Chamber of Commerce, asked me to come to a few meetings, and then asked me if I wanted to run for the board of directors, which I did successfully and was elected as a director to the board. It was a great group, and we did a lot of work looking at the city's budget. Mm-hmm. We put a lot of time in reviewing the 2013 budget, asked for a lot of community involvement, which we got, presented the documents to City Council, and I personally felt like they were ignored, and it really didn't sit well with me. And I thought, when citizens are involved and trying to get involved to help, and we were poo-pooed away, I felt like I had to stand up and run, because I want to make a change. I also have a number of friends in the community who have discussed with me at great length about how the city can be a little bit difficult to deal with. I'm truly a people person, and I believe in listening to people and trying to help, and I want to be a part of something like that at City Hall.
Okay, so you're focused on some change in the way that the city deals with ordinary people, and I think also with the business community.
Absolutely. I think with a healthy business community and business being able to grow within Revelstoke, it can spread out the tax burden that's been placed on the citizens of Revelstoke over the last 2 councils. We recently just bought our home here. I've gone back and looked at the tax increases that have happened year over year for the last little while that I've been in Revelstoke, and it's really starting to hurt some people. I think we really have to work towards broadening our tax base so that the average resident is not faced with an increase every year. Looking from a business perspective, the tax ratio, I think we're the 3rd worst in the province currently with our tax ratio from residential to business, and that hurts business as well.
Sure it does. But how are you going to broaden the tax base?
Well, I think with initially my plan is to really try to bring a voice to council where the city needs to look inwards to create some efficiencies first. The city needs to start saving money immediately to stave off another tax increase in the short term. But in the long term, looking at becoming, people have talked about being open for business a little bit, and we were in that running, but I really think that we have to take that to heart, and we really do have to be open for business. If someone comes into City Hall and wants to know, what do I have to do to get a business going here, we shouldn't have to jump through hoops. We should have a package ready to deliver to them. This is what we need to do. These are the types of things and services that we could use in Revelstoke. This is what we need. If you're interested in doing these types of things, come in and talk to us anytime. We're always happy to help.
Do you think the city should be actively looking for businesses?
Absolutely, I do. Yes, I'll give you a prime example, David. Last September long weekend, I broke the key off in my lock at the store. There wasn't a locksmith in town. I had to start calling. I called through the Okanagan trying to find a locksmith to come out on the September long weekend. I was able to source a gentleman out of Golden who drove in from Golden on the September long weekend to extract the key from the lock so that I could leave the store we didn't have a locksmith in town. Now there's a viable business that could exist in Revelstoke that we don't have. I know Mr. Scott Duke has done an awful lot of work looking at some holes where there are viable businesses that could be existing in Revelstoke. I think that there needs to be a direction that we need to help. We need to be there to help anybody that wants to open up a business. We need to do everything we can to ensure that we're open for business and growing our tax base so that the burden isn't continually borne by the residents that are here now and that have been bearing it.
How do you grow a tax base?
We've got to grow a tax base through business growth. We've got to look at options for current businesses that are here and exist already to grow and grow with purpose. We have to be ready to invite people who want to set up new businesses here. We have to have a package ready for them. If someone says, hey, I'm interested in opening a business in Revelstoke, we need to be able to help them facilitate that at every level, be it if they're talking to someone at City Hall, or if they're talking to a different department, or if they're talking to just anyone in Revelstoke. We need to start with our family and friends and say, I know where you need to go if you want to start a business. It's a good spot to get started, be it the Economic Development Council or City Hall. We need to be able to do what we can to grow.
What about attracting new residents, young families?
You know what, David, I had a call from a friend of mine in Salmonar last week, and he said, you know, my friends have been in North Vancouver for almost 20 years. They can't afford to buy a house there. They're looking for something else to do. He's been offered a position in construction in Revelstoke. Would you mind picking up the phone and talking to him? And I said, absolutely, send me his number. I called this gentleman that I've never talked to. They've been in Revelstoke for 2 holidays. They're going to move their whole family here in the spring to take a position. And they were here 2 weeks ago. They saw our 2 new schools, and not to take anything away from the Arrow Heights Elementary or the elementary school in Columbia Park, both fantastic schools. They went to our community center. They could not believe how fantastic our community center was, with our gym, with the pool. And they're excited to ski on the ski hill, and they just looked around at everything that Revelstoke had to offer and said, we want to be here. This looks like a great place. They walked around, there's smiling faces downtown, there's people saying hello. I said, we don't get that in the city. Like, you guys really have something special going on here. That's what we need to do. We just need to keep being ourselves, because people see it and they want to be a part of that.
That's pretty interesting.
It was. To just pick up the phone and talk to someone I've never talked to, David, and they've had such positive experiences here that they want to move here. He wants to bring his whole family here. It's a father, a wife, and 2 children.
Well, I hope they do that. It sounds like to be great additions to
I'll certainly introduce you if they do.
Good.
Come, yeah.
What other kind, you mentioned you've done some work with the food bank. What, do social issues concern you here?
Absolutely. I have 2 children, a 16-year-old daughter and an 11-year-old daughter. They're both a big motivating factor in my social concerns. My 16-year-old daughter has her eyes open to the world and sees what's going on. Is concerned about people being hungry. Canada is a very rich country. There's no reason why anyone here should be hungry, which is why I try to help Patty out as much as I can. The store has had a couple local initiatives as well, collecting from the city, just basically being a depot, but allowing people to make donations to the food bank or to a local toy drive. It's important to be socially conscious and socially minded. I want to set a good example for my children. I'm the best shot that they have for knowing how a man should be acting, and I believe that we should be giving back, and I want them to see that I'm doing that.
Okay. You mentioned you talked a bit about the Chamber of Commerce's contribution to the budget discussion in 2013. Do you think the city should be doing more to encourage citizen involvement at that kind of level?
I truly do, David. On your website, Mr. Melnick wrote a letter about citizen involvement that I really was paying attention to. He had a lot of points that, you know, I've only been here since 2011 and truly here with roots since then, and I look at a resident like that who's gone back and has been asked to help and has provided direction of his own free time, and again, looking at his discussion feels largely ignored, and feels like there's a wealth of knowledge here that the city could draw on at minimal cost. You know, we don't need a consultant to tell us everything. Revelstoke has looked after itself very well for a very long time, and I think if we can draw on some of our citizens' knowledge, because they're willing to do it, you know, this is a town that can do things. When we want to get something done, it'll happen, and I think that we can draw on our residents' knowledge to do that. The worst thing to do is ask people for feedback or help and then ignore them. That leaves a really bad taste in people's mouths, and that's how you lose your volunteers. That's how you lose people who are willing to provide input. And we need to thank them and ask them again, because that living here and having that experience, it's unparalleled experience. They're here. Mm-hmm. We know. And I think we just have to ask and let them know that we're listening. If we're not listening, they won't tell us anything.
That's right. Thank you very much. Tell me, is there any last words you'd like to pass along to our viewers?
There is. I want everyone out there to know that I truly love this town. I was born here. I'm happy to be back here. I will never leave, and I want to let the citizens know that I'm here to serve them. I feel like I have a lot to give, and I'm certainly willing to listen to your concerns and try to help in any way I can. I would like to be involved with the municipal government, and I would like to have some transparency and accountability there. I believe that it's time for that, and that the citizens of Revelstoke deserve it.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thanks, David. Thanks.